the government of India vision about the blockchain technology, maybe in 40 minutes, 50 to 40 minutes. After that, you may take the feedback or whatever you have discussed yesterday. Okay. So it's going to be a 30 to 40-minute session. I'm just touching some of the portions related to the government side, that how the government of India is thinking in the direction of adopting the blockchain.
Okay, sir, sure. Sir, we'll start at 3 or 3:05
Yeah, no
because
problem. Yeah.
participation is very less till now. So we'll start
No
at
problem.
3:05.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. We will start at 3:05. No problem.
Okay, sir. I'll give you the rights. We'll start at 3
Yeah.
5.
Okay. No problem. Voice is also audible to all of you.
Yes, sir.
So,
Screen is
okay,
visible.
okay, ma'am, thank you. So, what is the agenda for today's session? So, as today is the last session for this particular course, blockchain technology. So, at the last of this session, I will just summarize the entire course that what we have discussed. So, this is a very, very important takeaway for all of you that what about the policies of the government of India with respect to the blockchain technology adoption in the government services or irrespective of their government services, any other sector where they feel that. So the government of India recently in February 2021, they came up with a national strategy from an expert committee. They open it for any kind of debate or any kind of discussion. So that we are going to discuss, but the due credit is given to the inventors or to given to the committee members that those they have consolidated all the expertise in the blockchain and they prepare a very well documented opportunities and challenges as far as the India as a nation is going to concern that how and they have already analyzed that how this blockchain is going to solve what part with respect to the Indian context and the problems that are having some kind of societal context. So maybe next 30 to 40 minutes we are going to discuss about the vision of the government of India and but at the same time we will also discuss the global perspective or the global strategy, not the national, because in their document they have also focused on the global perspective also, but we are more going to discuss in this particular session about the national strategy. So this is the outline of this particular national strategy that the government has framed out. They have started with the abstract and then overview of the blockchain technology and applications. So that part we are not going to discuss because you know that what are the nut and bolts of blockchain technology. So whatever portion is more crucial that we need to highlight. And then the global efforts across the globe, what are the different kinds of global effort, how many companies, how many industries, or how many organizations, or how many governments across the globe have already started working on the adopting the blockchain in their services. So that we are going to discuss. And then according to some kind of the forecasting agencies like the Gartner, what will be the future of the blockchain technology? Let's say out after this course, some student from your class, you have decided that I need to become a blockchain expert or blockchain developer. So what will be the future? What will be my future? What are the perks? Or what are the viewpoints? Or what are the growth? So that all are we are going to discuss in under this particular. Then the pertaining to only with respect to the Indian context, we are going to discuss that what are the problems because they have listed a number of problems that have some kind of societal context in this particular document, and what are the challenges in adopting the blockchain in the scenario that they have identified. So they have also carried out a kind of a SWOT analysis that strength, weakness, opportunities, and threat. So that we are also going to discuss. And most important part is as a India, uh, how we are going to build up a national level blockchain framework, single framework that the entire nation is going to use, and what are the key attributes or what are the expectations from this particular national level blockchain framework that we are going to discuss. And as an academic institutions, how you are going to apply for the center of excellence in the blockchain technology at national level, and what are the collaborative organizations to whom you need to contact if you want to establish any center of excellence in the blockchain technology. And finally, what are the recommendations of the committee towards implementing the national level blockchain framework that we are going to discuss. So this is about the outline of the entire session, or we can say the outline of the entire strategy that was framed out by the government. Now, this we are not going to discuss because you know it very well that in the 2009, the Bitcoin coined by the Satoshi Nakamoto, and the data structure, the blockchain is a kind of a container data structure. So if it is a kind of a container data structure, then it helps to maintain some kind of unchangeable record. That part we have already discussed. It maintains the transparency, immutability, and efficiency aspects. So scope of the blockchain, they have highlighted in this document about the scope of the blockchain. So we are in this document, they have targeted not only the permission, they have targeted all the three segments: permission, permissionless, and consortium blockchain. Because as a nation, if we want to develop the entire blockchain framework, then we cannot restrict ourselves on the private blockchain. We can go with a hybrid mode of approach where we follow the principle or the rulings of the personal as well as the public blockchain. So the scope of the blockchain, basically we cannot limit, but in their document they have limit the scope of the blockchain. Let's say in the telecom and media entertainment, in order to have some kind of transactions, digital identity proof, and peer-to-peer exchange. So this is one of the applications where they have identified the scope. So scope of the blockchain means what? That first you need to identify the application. So similarly, they have identified multiple applications, and then under the umbrella of each and every application, what portion, what potential is there where you directly adopt the blockchain. Like if you take an example of energy utilities and chemical companies, okay, so there is a big trouble about the product safety, that because if it is a very expensive chemical, then how you are going to provide a kind of a safety to that particular product. So in this particular area, the blockchain is going to be a kind of a right candidate. Then how you are going to prove, or we can say that the proof of authenticity or accounting and audit. If you take an example of financial services, then you know that all the financial transactions, like in the case of trade, one case study we have already discussed about the check truncation system. So this is related to the trade. And then in the public sector regulations, because government exchanging many documents on a regular basis, so document verifications, who is going to verify that I have received the data from the authorized user or not, and what about the proof of ownership of that data. So in the manufacturing also, sometime, let's say Maruti Udyog Limited, it's a kind of assembly unit, but different parts, they are to be manufactured by the different vendors, and then they hand over it to the Maruti Udyog Limited, and then Maruti Udyog Limited is do a kind of a assembly of all the parts, and then they release a particular car. So in this particular case, the supply chain plays an important role. How they are going to maintain the entire supply chain of the product, of all kind of product related to the that are to be used in the assembly for a particular vehicle. Okay, so these are what this is. They have identified many permissionless or permission blockchain can be a viable solution, like in the life sciences also. So moving further, this national level strategy in blockchain, they have divided, or they have divided this into two parts. One is the technological aspects, and second one is the administrative aspect. So in case of the technological aspects, there is a requirement from the technological aspects. If I say that why there is a requirement to do a kind of exercise for preparing a kind of a national level strategy document for the adoption of the blockchain. So there is a requirement because to have a kind of a national blockchain infrastructure. For what purpose? Because it will act as a kind of a regulatory to be used for building and deploying the blockchain applications. And if we have a kind of a national blockchain infrastructure, then R&D activities can be a very, we can monitor all the R&D activities that are to be used to solve some of the challenges related to the interoperability and some kind of faster development and security. And if we look at the administrative aspects, so in case of administrative aspects, the main concern of the government is related to the regulatory, basically the standards. So how, let's say, for example, we have already noticed in this particular course that if there is RBI then RBI can act as a kind of RBI is always acting as a kind of a regulatory as far as the financial institutions are going to concern. So now if we do not involve any kind of third party in the peer-to-peer distributed system like in the blockchain based network, then who is going to monitor the entire transactions, and then at the last who is going to be responsible for it. So the government for this particular purpose, the main concern of the government is implementing the appropriate legal and regulatory architectures. Or second one is how they are going to formulate the policies and incentive models, because you cannot have the same incentive model for each and every industry. Like if we take an academic or startup or industry, so we can have the separate incentive model for each and every aspect. So they have given a crystal clear outline that based upon the technological aspects or based upon the administrative aspects, we can categorize this particular national level strategy document, which is to be used in order to see the potential of the blockchain to be applied in the various societal context problem in Indian context. Okay. So now this part we have already discussed because we are having the ledger, and this is the decentralized ledger. Every data is encrypted. So for that particular purpose, we are using SHA-256 in order to generate the hash value. Okay, and it is just like that. We are having a message is of variable size, but we are generating the hash of fixed size. So if we know the hash, we cannot generate the message. So backtracking is not possible. So that feature we have already discussed, need not to discuss it again. And structure, we have discussed, I think in one of the sessions we have discussed about the what is there inside the block. So similarly, they have also given a viewpoint that what is there inside the block. Inside the block, we are having the block header, and then the previous block, nonce, timestamp, Merkle root, and the number of transactions. And they are linked together. The next block will store the hash of the previous block. So this is the way that the multiple blocks, or we can say n blocks, are linked with each other. Now, this is very, very important viewpoint given by the government of India. Basically, this report is prepared by the MITI, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. So, what kind of architecture is preferable under what circumstances? What kind of blockchain architecture? So based upon, we can categorize the architecture based upon the ownership of the data. Who will take care the ownership of the data? So we can decide that what kind of architecture is preferable for our application depending upon the ownership of the data. So based upon the ownership of the data, we can say we can divide it into two parts, the public blockchain and the private blockchain. If we take an example of the ownership of the data, but at the same time, if we want to see how we are going to divide the blockchain architecture, or what kind of options we are having as far as the blockchain architecture is going to concern. So based upon the read and write or say the commit permissions which are given to the participants. So depending upon that also we can select the architecture. So based upon the read-write options or permissions granted to the different participants, those are associated in your network. We can divide this into two. One is the permissionless and second one is the permission. Altogether, we are using these two terms interchangeably, public or permissionless, private or permission. But with respect to the architecture usage, there are some differences. So that differences I'm going to discuss only because the fundamental part we have already discussed. So as far as if you see that this permission architecture of the blockchain with respect to the dividing it into read and write operations. So we can say under this public, anyone can join the network at any instant of time, but only authorized user and the known participant can write and commit because it's a permission blockchain under the umbrella of the public. So if you take an example of from the point of view scalability, then permission less blockchain or public blockchain is having the low scalability. Why? Because it's a public environment, anyone can join the network, and sometimes the mining will also take the time. Okay, so here in case of the permission, we can say that the scalability is medium, and it has high scalability when it comes to the architecture based upon the data ownership. But in case of the data ownership for this particular segment, we are having very high scalability because it is a kind of a consortium where we have only selected group of participants. So if we are having selected group of participants, then it gives a kind of a flexibility where we can achieve the high scalability also. So this is the viewpoint of the government that before selecting an architecture, you need to consider that you need to select architecture based upon the data ownership or based upon the access capability which you need to give to the participant. So there are two ways. First one is the depending upon the infrastructure, or we can say the data ownership of the data infrastructure. The second one is the access capability that you want to give to the participant. Now, this is very important slide for you or for all the students because I believe that this will directly give a title or an application uh, to you where you can kickstart your work because the government has already identified in the Indian context that what are the different potential blockchain applications as far as the Indian scenario is going to concern. So like in the transfer of land records, so you know it very well that in the era of 80s, not only in Punjab, in across India, we have faced a couple of frauds with respect to the transfer of land, where a single plot is to be sold multiple times to more than sometimes 5 to 6 end users, and then these end users will go to the court, and then the court will take the decision based upon the fact, based upon the documentation. So this is going to be a kind of a big trouble that because earlier this record is pertaining with the Tehsil office only, there is no access capability. But now, if you see, we are having the Bhulex software, which was under the privilege of the NIC National Informatics Center, where you can just type the name of your village, then select your Khasra number or select the landowner name, then your entire information will appear that we can call in a normal way the Khasra Khatoni, where some farmers have already taken the loan from bank. This detail will appear. So it is a very huge record basically. So in this particular way, this is also one of the problem where you can see the potential of the blockchain when it comes to be the management of the record pertaining to any property. If you take an example, start from the lower level, from the Nagar Palika, then Nagar Parishad, then Nagar Nigam, and then scale up it to across the country. Then digital certificate management. In India, we need to maintain, when once you go to any interview, you need to carry your handbook or your old testimonials or your old documents with you, your old mark sheets, your old degrees. Okay. So in this particular case, it is very complicated for us sometime maintaining these and handling the safety of these documents. So there are some couple of the solutions are available, like DigiLocker is available, where you can put all your educational, your death or birth or agreement or sale deed or FDs or your all passbooks or any other information which you want. But maintaining the security and privacy is again a big challenge. So this could be the second area. Third one is the pharmaceuticals supply chain, like in the era of COVID-19, how you are going to maintain the proper supply chain of the COVID-19 vaccine. This is again one of the very grayscale area where you can contribute by with the help of the blockchain, because transparency also plays an important role that in the COVID-19 vaccination process, because that's the way your vaccine with an individual is linked with the Aadhaar card, so that in the round one or round two, it is not the case that some kind of forgery can be taken place in this scenario. Then e-notary service, government has identified the e-notary service also, where need not to purchase any kind of stamp. So like government is also using this, like we are having e-notary kind of service. Then your farm insurance, identity management like UID, Aadhaar, then power distribution, yeah, smart energy distribution and using the blockchain. Or I think we have already discussed one of the case study in this session. Then stamp duty payment, instead of paying it and you need to pay digitally. Then agriculture and other supply chain, e-votings, electronic healthcare record system in the healthcare environment. So that we have discussed by taking one case study, digital evidence management system, because police is facing this difficulty. If they caught someone, then they need to investigate. They need to rely on the fact provided by the third party. So there is a requirement to have a kind of a digital evidence management system. Then the public service delivery, IoT device management and their security that are to be applicable in different applications. Then vehicle life cycle management or predictive maintenance of the machines, or cheat and fund operation administration, because in West Bengal, you have already noticed this, that many companies are coming, they are collecting the money from the farmers or from the citizens, and then they just away from the market by grabbing the money of all the individuals. So how you are going to develop the faith in this particular environment, where the environment, the trust or the credibility is again a big question mark for the cheat and fund companies. And microfinance for self-help group, basically this is SSG. So these are the different potential blockchain applications that the government of India has already defined, that these are the problems of India, and these problems can be solved by the adoption of blockchain in any segment of under these applications. So very, very important, because in any area you can select and you can contribute to. Now next one is what is the value or addition for blockchain in e-governance? Why the government is more worried, and why the government want to apply or want to see the potential of the blockchain in the governance, basically, and that we can call it as a e-governance, because the success of any government or any country is dependent on that how much the government is gaining the faith of the citizens of the country. So this is the foremost parameter, because ultimately the blockchain is going to improve the transparency and accountability. So that is again directly related to the maintaining the trust with all the citizens, to speed up their transactions, protecting their sensitive data related to the healthcare or their bank account details, etc., and reducing the cost and improving the efficiency sometime. So in this way, we can say the sole motive of the government is that they want to make the blockchain platform or framework, so that the employees can also feel, or all kind of employee can also feel a kind of a attachment with their offices, because they have a watch, because there is a kind of a framework available, and that framework will support the government in order to provide the services to the government as and when they required, and in the way that they are expecting from the framework that support, basically, directly or indirectly to the government. So these are some of the basically the global effort taken by the, not only in India. If we take an example of Indian context, then if we take an example of outside India or global perspective, if we take, so there are many companies that they have already, or many countries I can say, they have already implemented, or still they are in the process of implementation of the blockchain in the various verticals, like if you visit UAE, then you have also noticed that the Sultan of UAE, they want to make the Dubai as the smart Dubai, where everything is digitized. No need to have the money in your pocket, and at the same time, they expect that the privacy of each individual is going to be preserved, and with respect to the data of each individual is also going to be secured. So, like Brazil government, they have already applied the blockchain. Switzerland, Chile, and Canada government, they have already applied the blockchain in their government services. Samsung blockchain wallet has already in the market. Like LG blockchain is also there in the market. There are big companies like Amazon, Microsoft Azure, IBM blockchain, Oracle blockchain, or Cosmos. or Polkadot, AIN, ARC, or Atomic Swap, or Chainlink, Hashi Corporation. So big companies, they have already working or shifting their entire business from the centralized mechanism to the decentralized mechanism. And the reason is only one, that they are expecting a kind of a solution where building a trust is not a big deal, because if you are gaining the faith of the end user or faith of the individual citizens of the country, then this will be directly relating to the happiness of each and every individual. So this is the global perspective that they have highlighted, and they have in their document they have already highlighted the or forecasted according to the Gartner that the business value of the blockchain is going to increase across the worldwide. And if you refer, we are now at 2021, so where it comes to be very less. But at the same time, if you compare it by 2030, so Gartner is predicting that the market value of the blockchain is going to be very high, as you can easily evident from this particular slide. And what is the if we take an example of global perspective, Asia Pacific, Europe, North America, Middle East, and Latin, then by the 2027, if you say that if you see this particular graph, then it indicates that Europe is going to lead. And right now the Asia Pacific, they are also implementing the blockchain in their various verticals. So this is going to be a kind of a prediction and the motivation from the government side, that this is not only the government is thinking, but the predicting agencies like Gartner or Cisco, they are also have the same viewpoint that the blockchain is going to be a kind of a revolutionary technology over a period of time. Now, in the national scenario, if you consider the national scenario, so Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, which we can call it as MIT, so they have already distributed the Center of Excellence. So I will tell you that it is not like that we don't have any Center of Excellence with respect to the blockchain. So government has already distributed the Center of Excellence in the blockchain technology with CDEC, IDRBT, and VJTI, Veer Jijaji Technological Institute, that is in Maharashtra, as executing agencies. So now it is the duty of these three institutions to take care the national importance of the adoption of the blockchain. So there is one pilot project related to the blockchain is already successfully developed in the Shamshabad district, that is one of the district of Telangana. And one of the proof of concept solutions were already developed for enabling the cloud security assurance in the CKYC or trade finance. And CDEC, which is Advanced Computing Training School, is there in Telangana state. So they have already developed the proof of existence framework where they are going to use this to check the integrity of academic certificates and sale deed document. So if we consider India, then Telangana is the state that is going to have a kind of a lead in the adopting the blockchain in government services. So these are some of the Indian context scenario examples. Center of Excellence in the blockchain or established by the NIC. So what is the motivation? So government highlighted the motivation because their motivation is to develop the blockchain as a blockchain platform as a service. It's a kind of a pilot deployment basically, where the individual or the company can come for the consultancy, and then they have to design and develop according to the requirement, according to the need of the individual. And they have already defined some of the application areas under this Center of Excellence, like blood bank or Digidan or public distribution system, land registration, GST back office, and the excise management system, because we also having some kind of loopholes in the excise and taxation department. So that's the way, and in the GST also. So that's the way government have selected these two as the priority area or the priority applications where they see the potential of the blockchain, because whatever collection you are having how will you verify that this collection is actual collection or not? Okay. So Niti Aayog, it is not like that. This is the first document from the government of India side related to the blockchain. I think in 2019, Niti Aayog has already give his viewpoint related to the blockchain. So Niti Aayog selected or highlighted the use cases like land record, pharmaceutical supply chain, fertilizer subsidy distribution, and educational certificates. So see, this educational certificate is again a common problem or common problem that has some kind of societal context also. So the ultimate mission, because CDEC is leading in the center of excellence. So ultimate aim of the CDEC is to apply the blockchain, but they have categorized their mission into different parts. Like first one is they are more focused towards a unified blockchain framework, which will address the performance like scalability, interoperability, security, and privacy challenges. Then after that, they are looking for the blockchain vertical to be used as a service, where some kind of e-sign integrated with the blockchain based proof of existence. And these are the various applications that we have already discussed. So whosoever the application that we have not discussed, I'm going to discuss only that application. Like Reserve Bank of India is also exploring on applying the blockchain in the banking domain. Like Mahindra and IBM, it's a joint venture by the Mahindra and IBM. So they are collaborating on supply chain management solutions. So SBI has associated with the commercial bank and financial institutions for blockchain-based applications as a pilot project. Like Yes Bank, Axis Bank, and ICICI Bank are also adopting blockchain in their banking businesses. But they have only tested it under the friendly customers, but they are still waiting for the green signal from the Reserve Bank of India side. So, there are some kind of challenges also why we are going to see the adoption of the blockchain in the different issues identified under the e-governance. So first one is the technological challenges because right now we don't have the skill set or the awareness related to the blockchain technology. There is a kind of a scarcity. So this is the good point the government has highlighted. The government require the blockchain developer in the near future. So this is a kind of a motivation for all of you, those who are willing to start their career as a security professional. And some of the legal challenges also in India, because India is a diversified country. So we have different culture altogether. Some different states are having some different terminology with respect to the act. So localization also one of the problem there that they have highlighted. And in their report, they have carried out a kind of a SWOT analysis based upon the prediction by the Gartner, or one of the report related to the practical applicability of blockchain. That was the report, and where the Gartners have given some kind of insights. So they have taken this as an input in order to prepare this SWOT analysis. So in this SWOT analysis, they have defined the strengths like it is a kind of a, some of the tools are open source. We have to prove the essence, the assets provenance and distributed reliance. So these are some of the strength. Weaknesses, there is a scarcity among the users and there is no skilled manpower available, or sometimes the immutability, immature scalability is also there. Sometimes lack of trust is also there. Opportunities we have already discussed. There is more and more opportunities, but at the same time we are having the threats also, that because state to state the rule may vary, and state to state the technology may also vary. The failure of the technology may also vary. Okay, so these are some of the strength, weakness, and opportunities that they have listed. And this is, according to them, the roadmap of the blockchain technology, where you have to start from the assessing the value of the proposition of the blockchain, and then you have to identify and evaluate and evolve the prototype platform for specific application. And then you need to apply it, that prototype implementation, and then you scale up the deployment to the state level and then to the country level. But you cannot directly scale up the deployment once you have some kind of proof of concept available, some kind of prototype available, then only you can go with this particular. So according to them, they identified the 3 different stages. So potential challenges we have already discussed. So what are the potential challenges? And this is the national level blockchain framework which the government is planning to develop. So see here, we are having multiple applications. Okay. So all these applications, out of these, many applications are having critical and national applications. So where some UPI, some Aadhaar card linking. Okay. And after that, we need to integrate with some existing services like e-sign, DigiLocker, Aadhaar card. So it is not like that altogether you can start the process of the government from the scratch. No, government already have some kind of documentation, some kind of procedures. Only they need to digitize each and everything, and they need to have all these services under the umbrella of this particular national level blockchain framework. But it is not very easy. This will take at least 10 to 20 years or minimum 10 years to come up with a kind of a, because Telangana is leading, if we take an example of India, in the adoption of the blockchain. So where we are having the asset layer, smart contract layer, platform layer, the chain layer, national blockchain distributed infrastructure, where all different states are connected together in a regional way, like north, south, or east zone or west zone. We have a separate blockchain for them, and then all together they are integrated in the. So there is a requirement, there is a need for national level blockchain framework for because all applications or we need to integrate. Like if I have selected only few applications like e-sign, we are having this particular applications for particular service where this e-sign is a public key infrastructure based on a line service. So it gives a kind of a instant signing of their documents, enabling non-repudiation and in a legally acceptable form. Then we have Praman, basically where we need to use for what purpose? E-authentication purpose. We have DigiLocker. So all these services we need to integrate into the blockchain framework. So this would be an added advantage when once we have all the services, and you can take the benefit of all the services under one national level blockchain framework. So this is the vision of the government, and the multi-institutional center of excellence government want to build up. But government has already identified some of the collaborating organizations, and they have already defined their role. Like one of the collaborating organization is the National E-Governance Division, that is the NEGD, whose role is implementation of the project undertaken by various ministries and department at central or state level. Then we have all the state governments are the collaborating organization of this pilot project. Then National Informatics Center and National Informatics Center Services. Then the CDAC, Center for Development of Advanced Computing Facilities, and Standardization, Testing and Quality Certification Agency, because at the last we need to have a kind of a certification that whatever framework we have designed, that framework is as per the expectation of the government policies or not. So this is the task. That's the way this agency is the collaborating organization for development of the single framework, that is a national framework for the blockchain. Another one is the IDRBT, that is the Institute for Development and Research in Banking Technology, IIT Hyderabad, IIT Kanpur, and Society for Electronic Transaction and Security, SATS Chennai, which will take care all kind of transaction security. And other premium institutes, they are the partner of this collaborative effort, and some kind of regulatory and legal aspects, and some kind of industry and startup they are also, because the government is now dividing under the COE the different tasks to the different institutions. So this is about the vision of the government of basically the government of India towards adopting the blockchain. So final recommendation from the government side is they want to have a plan to develop the national level blockchain framework, which they call it as a NLBF. which enable the three types of participant. The first one is the confident user of technology. That means the application developer, then the infrastructure and service or blockchain as a service, then the IP creator. And for what purpose? Because the existing infrastructure of the data center, we can say, could be utilized for enabling this blockchain as a service. It is not going to like that we are going to replace the entire. No, we are going to use our existing infrastructure also. So under this, government want to support some kind of consultancy services can be offered. Uh, so this is the vision of the government of India with respect to the blockchain. So these are some of the references from which the government has prepared this document. And if you see that this is the document by the CDEC has already given one document. Tamil Nadu government has already released one document. One national strategy also released by the NIC and the government of India, MIT department. So with this word, I just stop sharing here. And these are the, and I again open that particular PPT, which will be very, very important for you that what are the different applications which are having some kind of societal context as far as Indian scenario is going to concern. Okay, so once again, I would like to say a very, very thanks from our side to Ms. Sakshi, because all the way she is hosting all the sessions throughout, I think it's now 1 month. So in this particular 1 month, I am just briefing you what we have covered. We have covered the some of the concept related to the fundamental concept related to the blockchain from Dr. Neeraj Kumar, and then the development of the smart contract from Subhani, and then some of the implementation from my side related to the how you are going to create the blockchain, and then the hash mining, reward distribution, hash validation, and the implementation of proof of work. So in this course, we have covered the almost every segment of the blockchain with respect to the consensus mechanism to be applied in the permission environment or permissionless environment. Okay, so today I'm going to hand over some material with the organizer, and then the organizer will send the material to all the students. So once again, thank you very much to all of you for patiently listening all the sessions and putting your queries, because sometimes we faculty member also feel that once the student asks the query, then we need to go into the literature and sometimes refer more in order to deliver the session properly. But as far as this course is going to concern, I again repeat, there is no enough material available like in normal cryptography network security. You are having books written by various authors, but in this particular case, it is the position is not like that. So you have to develop your own logic. You have to read the research papers. So today also I am going to share along with the material more than 50 research papers that we have contributed in our research lab with our UG, PG and PhD students. So this will also help you to understand that how you are going to frame out the case study. So once again, thank you very much. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you so much, Sudeep sir, for these informational lectures. Sir, Mukesh sir will be joining in just a minute or two,
Okay,
and I'll
okay,
share the feedback link till that time.
okay, okay, no problem. Yes, yes, please.
Yes, sir. I'm sharing the feedback link. So for participants, it is necessary to fill that feedback form because that will be helpful for us so that we can conduct the next lectures according to that only. Based on your feedback only, we will be able to give you better sessions from the next time onwards. So kindly fill this one. I'm pasting that link in the chat window. So just submit that, everyone. Participants, I have pasted the attendance link in the chat window, so kindly fill that one. That will help us for your attendance as well as for the next sessions as well, because that contains the feedback link as well. So everyone, Mukesh sir is here. He is the principal investigator of our project, and he'll discuss a brief things about the session that are conducted and about the feedback form as well.
Okay. So, good afternoon to all present. I congratulate you all for the completion of this 1 month course on blockchain technology. And I am hopeful that you must have got a lot of things. At least you may think of now starting a project in blockchain technology. And I am really thankful to our experts who devoted a lot of efforts, a lot of time in preparing and in delivering the content to you. So a great thanks to them. Now I just wish to listen the feedback from your side, that what you think, that the things which were good about the program, the things which could be improved, so that we keep them in our mind while conducting the next, or you can say our future programs under this center. So just feel free and non-hesitant also to share your thoughts about the program. You may just switch on your camera and mics and then share your thoughts, your views. Yes, you're all welcome. You're all welcome to please share your views, to share your feedback. Just switch on your mics and share. That really will be a great help for us. Because next program we are targeting is on deep learning, that is further it is to our aerial data or satellite data. That is the workshop or the program for which we are working on. So your feedback is really very important to us. So Jaskaran, Jalpreet, please share your thoughts, your views, your feedback, your actual feedback. Actually, that is what we want to have. Ji. कोई कुछ नहीं शेयर करना चाहता?
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, sir. I was just prepping myself up.
Okay.
So, yeah. So the session was really great. The most amazing thing I like that the concepts were broken down in very simpler language so that everybody could understand. Especially Sudeep Tanwar sir, you are really amazing to be honest. Because it's I have seen very less professors and teachers who break down such complex looking topics into very simpler language. That was really great. Apart from that, the coding sessions from Shubhani ma'am were amazing because each and every single step was actually explained very well. So lovely sessions. I think I am not visible. Yeah. So lovely sessions and thank you so much.
Okay, okay. That's really great from your side, and really words of appreciation for our expert, Dr. Sudeep Talwarji. We really are having a great feedback about your session, because every day I am just going through the text messages and even emails from the participants. You really devoted a great amount of effort to this. So really, once again, thanks a lot to you, sir. We
Thank
really
you, sir.
would like to
Thank
have
you.
you in our future workshops, future courses also.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Because sometime in the blockchain area, if you need to prepare some topic, then there is no enough literature available. So you need to collect the literature from the different research papers only, because there is no single textbook available. Till
Yes.
date, there is no authored book available on the blockchain, and I have already shared with all the participants that you just need to wait only for 4 to 5 minutes, because we have to come up with a kind of a third book, that too is Springer. Already 12 chapters have so far completed, but this book has in total 19 chapters. So this is going to be a kind of a very good book in terms of giving the exposure to the student about the technological depth in terms of the blockchain and with respect to the implementation also.
Okay. That's great. Really great, sir. Really. That will be a great help to the persons who really are in want of pursuit of their career in blockchain technology. Because so much information and so much you can say data is available on the web these days that people are just confused about what to follow and what not.
Yes, exactly.
And so at the last they fall into a dig only.
Yes,
So they are getting nothing.
yeah.
We really require a systematic coverage of the blockchain technology and even other technologies also.
Okay.
So that's a great effort from your side, sir. So other participants, please switch on your mics and share. I am just again informing that I am not here only to listen about the positives. I really will be happy to listen some negatives also of the workshop of the program. Negatives are those which really empower us to improve further. So please share your true feedback.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, you should also focus on implementation part more rather than the theoretical only. And you should also take complete lectures like nearly 2 hours instead of just 1 hour lectures.
Okay. Actually, in the last 2 or 3 programs that we conducted earlier, the machine learning one, the Python one, and the big data also. So we scheduled the lectures for more than 3 hours a day. So the feedback that we got from the participants only that we should reduce this timing because classes were going on and 2 or 3 hours continuous setting on the system was becoming very difficult. So this is, was our first experiment actually with the reduction of interaction hours to 2. So definitely we will be finding a solution that is in between the longer side and the shorter side, and near future we will be working upon that.
And sir, you also need to give students some more tasks and projects.
Yes. That is the thing that we are working upon to give more assignments, more projects to the students, and to evaluate them. So in our next program, we'll be just smoothing it. I'll be having a mechanism for evaluation and evaluation of the students to be put in public domain also. So we'll be working upon this. Thank you so much, dear. Thank you.
Sir, I have a small suggestion. I'll try not to be rude if it goes in that sense. But the thing is that there was a sort of issue when it comes to the delivery part, because some of my friends here, I won't name them, but they are also attending this class. So they had problems in understanding the dialect of the teachers, some of the professors. So because there was no alternate available to actually read, because I totally understand that Tanwar sir's authored book is coming out, so he basically cannot give out any PPTs and stuff. But it would have been really great if we would have had some sort of written material with us, because 90% of the time when 90% of the time my friends were not able to understand a particular dialect, when the professor was speaking, and they were not able to find the
Material,
correlating information on the web to understand
Okay.
it again.
Okay. We got it, dear. We definitely there were some constraints from the end of our experts because the book is still under copyright and they are not having the permission to share it publicly. But in our earlier courses, we used to provide the material at the beginning of the class. So we'll keep this in mind and definitely will improve at this end. Good suggestion. Thank you. Good. और बच्चों और any participants wishes to have something? You must have been informed about your certificates, the time of delivery of your e-certificates. So Sakshi will be dealing with this, and your certificates will be you can say shared within a week or 10 days. Any suggestion? Anything else? If some participant wishes to.
And sir, where will be you posting information about your next courses?
Actually, the mechanism of dissemination of this information will be through our website and also through the WhatsApp groups that we are already having, blockchain group. So we'll be conveying the information through these two mechanisms. Along with we are also having a Facebook page, Instagram page. We are regularly updating this. So just keep a check upon this.
Sir, what's your website?
That is the CBRSC. That is, if I am not correct, let me. Yes, it is CBREC. CBREC.in means the name of our center. That is the Capacity Building and Research Entrepreneurship Center. CBREC.in is our website. On this website, you will be finding the information about our courses, this one as well as our earlier courses. You will be finding here all the video lectures delivered by the experts, and future program information will also be uploaded here.
Okay, sir, thank you. The course was overall amazing and teachers were also good.
Great, that's great, Yash. Anybody else? Okay, so I think that's it. So again, thanks a lot for being patient and being the good listeners also. Great thanks to Tanwarji. Really, we are happy to have you for the
Thank you,
course
sir.
along
Thank
with
you.
Dr. Neeraj. Hope to see you in the next of our course, that is probably on the deep learning. So thanks a lot. Thank you
Thank you.
very much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, everyone. And please fill the feedback form. And now you all can leave the session. Certificates will be issued in the maximum next 10 days. Thank you.